Welcome back, travelers. Dayon here. This is part 2 of episode 5, and we're going to discuss the Highmountain Tauren. We're going to be joined by yours truly, Qualia, Wheegil, and our special guests, Raton, and Lithiania, and Kysderal. Shout out to Glade Warden, a good friend of ours who provided us some footage of the Highmountain Tauren in gameplay. Thanks, Glade, you're a star. Now, I'm waiting to receive some footage of the Nightborn Elves and the Lightforged Draenei in gameplay as well. As soon as I get a hold of those files, I'll be putting those videos together and uploading them to YouTube. So sit tight. And if you like our videos, and we hope you do, subscribe and click the notification bell button. That way, you'll know as soon as we upload something. Now, back to our discussion. Moving on, it's time that we start doing a little bit more of a deep dive into these wonderful races. So we're going to start with the Highmountain Tauren. Why are we starting with the Highmountain Tauren? Well, that's a very simple answer. I'm glad you asked. We're going to start with the Highmountain.
Big dicks and big balls.
And big antlers, giant rafts.
Yep.
We're starting with the Highmountain Tauren because they are the first that any person leveling through Legion will meet. As one of the 4 zones that you level up from. It could be your first zone, your second, or third or fourth zone. But you will meet the Highmountain first before all the other 2.
Yeah, unless you're a hunter and it's your first zone.
So,
until I make Vicroll the Allied race.
And I realized pretty soon after we started this podcast, I should have allowed a little bit more time to introduce and allow our special guests to talk about how they got into the game and all that, so the audience gets to know them. But we're gonna do that now. So, Raton, as our ambassador on behalf of the Highmountain tribe, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your love for the Tauren, your anticipation for the Highmountain, and why you think they're so goddamn cool?
All right. Well, my introduction to World of Warcraft was some various friends, like in late middle school, early high school. You know, friends are like, "Hey, I play this awesome game, and it's really fun, and I play with other people. Come play with us. Come be with us and stuff." I had 2 groups of friends who did that to me, and I kind of saw it, and I was just like, I don't know if that's kind of my type of game or not. So, my first time playing, I made a human mage, even though my friend, one of my best friends from high school, he's still a best friend of mine. He played Horde, wanted me to play Horde, and back then I was the idealistic little kid who was like, "Oh yeah, I love the good guys, Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, and you know, Obi-Wan from Star Wars and Luke. Come on, I can't be the evil guys." So I tried a mage and played the starter zone for one night, and you know, it was okay. Didn't really catch my interest. And another group of friends, they showed me the Forsaken, and I was just like, I don't want to play zombies. Sorry.
Hey now.
This isn't my style. So then my best friend who got me to play Human Mage, he got me a while later. It was like because it was like Burning Crusade when he had me play, and then it was Wrath. He had me play again, and he's like, "All right, so come on, try this again, see if you like it." And he's like, "What race do you want to play?" And I'm like, "I don't know." So immediately, obviously, he liked Horde, so he brought up the Horde race and is like, "What do you want to play? You want to play this, this, this?" And I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, "Well, come on, man, think of something." So I was like, well, I'm a Taurus, so there's a Minotaur race, I guess I'll try them. So I did. and like immediately just went through the starting zone. He played a Tauren 2 with me, and we had a pretty good time. But sadly, I didn't quite get into it at that time. We only got to about like 23 or something before I went ahead and, you know, lost interest. Then I started stumbling across that I had Native American heritage, but because of what happened to my Native American ancestors, done to my white ancestors, we were not a part of the Cherokee Nation. So I started kind of exploring that, and then with the Tauren, like I kind of gravitated to them because it was like a part of my life that I didn't like know about. So in late college, you know, Cataclysm was going to be coming out, so I was like getting into Heritage, going in, playing the Tauren, and getting excited for, oh my gosh, now this world that I'm getting into is going to have this huge, awesome Cataclysm. I was a little bummed out that I couldn't quite get through Burning Crusade. I kind of got tired of being the errand boy. So you know, and then the Cataclysm came, and I couldn't really explore a whole lot of the in-game content, you know, or high-level stuff. I only got to explore what they changed the levels, and it's like, oh, wow, this is so cool. you know, and then went ahead and went on a break, and I actually didn't come back until late Pandaria. And at the time, my significant other had gotten into role play on like forum servers and stuff, and he was having a really good time with it. So I was like, huh. And I had feeling like inklings of going back to WoW and stuff. You know, I'd continued to explore my heritage. Actually, took a trip down to the capital of the West Cherokee and stuff, and got to visit with them and everything, and learn about their ways, their traditions and stuff. So then, when I went ahead and tried roleplay servers and found a Tauren tribe to join, it was kind of like getting to be a part of a life that no longer existed. I kind of gravitated to that. I kind of gravitate to pre-contact era and all the stories the elders still tell about it. So yeah, that's actually how I got started. I got into that guild, got into all the Tauren stuff. I learned a lot about my heritage and brought that into my roleplay, which people loved. And I researched roleplay before going in. So as a brand new level 14, I knew how to roleplay, and I knew how to roleplay well just from reading and researching the hell out of it. I wanted to be prepared. So yeah, I got an officer in that guild eventually, and then ended up founding my own guild when that went under, refilling that niche that it left behind with the Wolfmane. And honestly, I've kind of done a lot of stuff for the community off and on. Had good ideas and bad ideas, and stuff that worked with the community, stuff that didn't, and it's honestly been quite a fun ride. I've been in WoW for several years now, so go ahead.
No, you first.
Oh, that's really kind of the short version of me getting into WoW, and getting into the role play scene and getting into PvP and PvE.
So in your perspective, what is it that the Highmountain offer to the game, to the Horde, or how do they offset what the Tauren offer?
Well, with the Tauren, we've gotten little bits of their history throughout WoW's history. Originally we had the stories, the Mists of Dawn stories and the hatred of the Centaur, and you get little bits about their history, and Blizzard left a lot of that stuff open, but they filled in a little bit as they went along. But when we get to the Highmountain, they have a rather complete history. Kalimdor Tauren history still has a lot of open places, which is nice for role players, because they can kind of fill in those gaps with their own kind of stuff, which is where I supplement a lot of the traditions and stuff I learned about my own nation and about others as well. I get inspiration to fill in those gaps. With the Highmountain, you get this really cool lore. You get Holn Highmountain, a hero from the War of the Ancients, and how he fought the Burning Legion's invasion 10,000 years ago, and how the Highmountain became what they are now. And now that they've been separated for 10,000 years after the Sundering, now they got the blessing that gives them their antlers and stuff. I personally think that they've adapted to the cold, which is where they get their more hairier arms and such.
Do love that, by the way.
Yeah, me too. But yeah, I think that they just kind of give a lot more solid footing as far as the lore is concerned than the Kalimdor Tauren do, which is both good and bad.
The Highmountain Tauren I think, because they were such a center point of a race that we were going to experience in Highmountain, I believe that gave them a lot of room to really flesh things out and really tell, because he had to tell the story of these tribes in order to tell the story of Highmountain, and to tell the story of the Hammer of Khaz-Gorath. It's easy to forget, because it's easy to forget that the story of Legion began with uniting the 5 pillars of creation in order to close the Tomb of Sargeras and stop the invasion.
Seems like so long ago, right?
It does. I remember thinking about how crazy it sounded at the time. So what do we know about the Highmountain Tauren? And we know that they are all descended from Holn Highmountain, hero that we never knew before, and a hero that we keep learning about. He was the wielder of the eagle spear, and his story is very entwined with the hunters as well.
Yes.
We learned that he was blessed, I believe, by Cenarius himself, was it? To carry the antlers of that keeper. That's
Yes.
yeah.
The what was it? The horns of Ekro, or
Yeah,
the blessing
Ekiro.
of Ekro,
Mm-hmm. So
which actually was a moose, kind of like a moose spirit, but was also an actual physical animal that he basically saved and befriended and became like a companion to him. So he was he was basically a hunter.
yeah. Now, just before the invasion of the Legion, and just before we go in to Highmountain to look for allies against the Burning Legion, there was trouble brewing in the Highmountain tribes. Ulan Highmountain, the High Chieftain of the Highmountain and the leader of the Highmountain tribe at the time, was murdered by Dargrul the Underking after a dispute about what to do with the Hammer of Khaz'garath, I believe. Is that right? What was the argument that led to his murder?
I believe they wanted to use the hammer against the Legion, and I don't remember what the High Mountains, I don't remember what they actually said. I know they opposed it, obviously, but I can't quite remember their reasoning. It was in that comic.
I think they were waiting for a chosen one.
Oh yes, that is right. They had a prophecy that an outsider would come and get the hammer and use it against the Legion. I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if
Ulan said we're guardians of it. We're not supposed to be its users.
Yes, and Drago, they all disagreed and then killed the High Chieftain and stole it.
So I think that's a very important part to note, to kind of take away from the High Mountain. Their role in the world before the Legion was to protect this artifact, the Hammer of Khaz'garath, one of the 5 pillars of creation. That's a pretty heavy mantle to carry, I think, to be a steward of one of these very powerful items. It has the power to forge ancient wonders and shape the earth itself, and it was their charge to protect it.
Yeah, not only that, but it's also an artifact of the Titans, which is nice because Tauren lore usually didn't touch on Titans until now that we kind of feel that maybe the Earth Mother is the Titan Azeroth. Possibly.
Perhaps. It could also be Elune. Who knows?
It could be.
It's not
it could
Elune.
be.
Oh, that's an interesting theory.
Oh, it's not theory, it's canon.
Oh, well, I'd love to get into that.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be
Elune is the creator of the Naru.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, dang. I did not realize this. That's interesting.
That's why the Tears of Elune could be used on Zera's Light's Heart.
Oh, wow.
And unlock it.
Okay.
Because only a Naru of Zera's line can unlock it. For Oros died. The Tears of Elune worked. That's because she made the thing.
Okay, but what about the creator of the Naru and the Tauren?
Anyway.
I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of a scientist, so I usually don't say things are things until, we have absolute proof this is it, so...
Right.
So, just my stance.
Let's talk about the High Mountain the Highmountain Tauren in the land of Highmountain, led by Ulan Highmountain. What was the structure of their clan? It wasn't just the Highmountain. There were 4 tribes and the the Drogbar.
Before we talk about them, we should actually talk about Highmountain, because I've actually heard conflicting things on this, and I haven't really been able to confirm either way.
Oh yeah? What have you heard about Highmountain?
I've heard that Holm and his line are not so, they don't have a tribe. They're just his straight direct line, and they're just kind of like the chieftains of all these united tribes. The other side says that Highmountain is like the central tribe, and then the High Chieftain is also the chieftain of the central tribe, and then you have all the outlying other tribes outside of it.
You guys keep talking. I'll see if I can confirm either of those.
Well,
what do you think it is?
From what I remember of the Highmountain quest, with the Vision quest with Ebonhorn, it was the Tauren were a couple of tribes who lived on this mountain called High Mountain, and then there was some infighting. Then the Legion came and killed almost all of them. Holm united them Or maybe the mountain was named after Hone. I don't remember.
Yeah, the mount. Was it?
But
Oh, okay, here we go.
United a bunch of tribes, and then they became the High Mountain in his honor, and that's when they named the mountain High Mountain.
Yeah. The High Mountain is just the most dominant tribe. However, all of the Rivermane, Skyhorn, Blood Totem, and High Mountain are all Highmountain Tauren.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So that's another interesting piece of High Mountain lore. It seems that they revere the sky, the earth, and wind. And you see that represented in the Rivermane tribe, led by the venerable Jael Rivermane, and the Skyhorn tribe, led by the rather boisterous and entertaining Lasan Skyhorn. I'm really happy with him. And then you had the Blood Totem tribe, led by Tarik, who ultimately would go on to serve the Legion and become a corrupted Tauren group. And then, you know, the Drogbar were considered sort of cohabitating until everything until the story of High Mountain, where they steal the hammer and then he uses it to cause chaos. And so eventually we go through High Mountain, we reclaim the hammer, and then along the way we help Mela take her rightful place as chieftain of the High Mountain Tauren. And I think on that note we can start talking a bit about the characters of the High Mountain, and I think we should start with Mela. What do you guys think of the leader of the High Mountain Tauren, Mela High Mountain?
She's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not. She'd make a good wife for Bane. I mean, I'm not sure.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, yeah, I really liked Mela because there was a lot of connection between her and Bane, and at the time going through the quest, I was severely disappointed that I wasn't seeing Bane in that picture because of their similarities. And I can't lie, I also really like her name too because it's very close to my my real life name. So
Let me get a good old picture of this
I actually found Mela to be somewhat of a lackluster leader. Because with the Nightborn, you have Thalyssria going through this whole campaign. You really start to know who she is as a person. I don't know if maybe I just tuned out during High Mountain, but I felt a lot more connection towards the Rivermane and the Skyhorn than the
You know what I think it is?
To be fair, with the High Mountain questing compared to Suramar questing, you like the entire campaign. For me, I think it's just a lot longer.
Yeah,
you get to spend more time with it because it is endgame content.
Yeah, High Mountain's at the disadvantage of being one of the many zones that you can choose right off the bat. So they've got.
I think it is. I think we see Thalyssria being a strong, powerful leader. Even in exile, staving off addiction and starvation, she's still leading a rebellion. But with Mela, we help her grow into a leader, but we don't see her lead.
Yeah.
It's a fair point.
Which I think hopefully in the future we get to actually see her lead more in Battle for Azeroth. Like we actually get to see more of her. I won't put high hopes for it because when it comes to Tauren in general, Blizzard tends to lack on their lore quite a bit.
I know we'll see Lasan, so I imagine we'll see more of Mela too.
I'm putting high hopes into it.
And I honestly, I hope that they don't like ruin her character because, you know, we saw her as inexperienced and helping her become a leader. Yes, we didn't see her lead, but we also didn't really see a whole lot of the character other than, you know, at face. So I also think that that's part of it. We just didn't really get to see her a whole lot and get to know her other than, you know, she's just this person trying to step into her father's host, so to speak, and lead these people when she hasn't really been fully prepared for this. That's really it.
You know what I found? Sorry to cut you off, but do you know what I found particularly satisfying?
What?
The scenario that you get to experience in High Mountain after you complete a Legion invasion and seeing her in a more confident position, helping you fend off and direct High Mountain forces to explode a ship in the sky. So I'll contest what's being said that we don't see her lead. We have seen a glimmer of her leadership. We have seen her in her most confident, and we've seen her at her best when we are fending off invasions in Legion. I was very happy with. I felt like we had arrived at the end of her character arc at that point in a very satisfying way, and I'm looking more forward to what we might see from her next.
I liked seeing her in the Highmountain acquisition questline. As an established leader with confidence, rubbing elbows with big wigs of the Horde, I like to see her in her element.
I, for one, cannot wait to see more of her. And what do you guys think of the idea that she is going to be set up with Bane? And if you are fond of that idea, or if you don't like that idea, do you think it'd be better or worse than the way they conceptualized Agra to set her up with Thrall?
I don't think she's been set up with Bane. I just think it's a logical choice.
Yeah,
it's a logical choice.
Oh, it's certainly speculation, but that seems to be a very popular player theory, is that it's down the line. And let's say it happens. Let's say Mela and Bane tie the knot. Do you think that it would be a satisfying character arc for both characters, or do you think it'd be as negatively received as the Agra Thrall pairing was?
It's gonna depend how they do it. I think the issue with Agra was that she was specifically made for Thrall. Like, there wasn't much to her. So, and with Mela, she already has the advantage of she was made for the Highmountain to be put into this leadership. You see her interact with a lot more characters outside of just the one she's supposed to be paired with. You don't even get to see her with Bane, and maybe that's why Blizzard didn't include Bane in the beginning of the Highmountain quest, because they didn't want to make that same mistake.
Maybe they wanted to take some time and let this happen and let us have some time with Mela on her own.
Yes.
Yeah?
That certainly does seem logical.
I think if we do see those two get together, it won't be for quite some time still.
Possibly
Which
not.
would be the best way to go about it.
I don't imagine Blizzard wants there to be a super happy-go-lucky relationship in their game, which means something bad's gotta happen. And we haven't had enough development with those two characters yet for something bad to happen to them. They're both really valuable characters.
The guy lost his father. Let him just have a girlfriend.
Yeah,
He's been getting
I got
on.
dumped. That doesn't mean my character developed. It just means I don't have a girlfriend.
Well,
See, if he lost his father and then started doing some shit to fucking avenge him or pay tribute to him or something like that, would have been cool. But
that would have
sort
been
of there.
I mean, he did. He did kick him. He did have his revenge against Magaltha. It was a book, but he did do
liberated Thunder Bluff.
Right, but where does his father's death play into his character currently?
Well,
He's kind of gone.
I think
He's
that
kind of
kinda,
past
he
that.
got over that.
Enough about Bane. He's not
He
High
came
Mountain.
into his stride in the Darkspur Rebellion.
Yeah. Well, enough about Bane. He's not High Mountain. Let's talk about another High Mountain chieftain, and we are going to talk about Jael Rivermane.
She was awesome.
I
Liked her
love-
way more than Mela.
I did like her a lot too. I think it's because she has a sort of venerable charm to her. She's a matron. She's a bit of a crone.
She's an old granny that I want to give a big smoot.
Yeah.
Maybe
She's
it's
also
because-
rough.
Maybe it's because I'm an Alliance player, but I thought she was more forgettable than Mela.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean-
I'm sorry. I
I'm
just
sorry,
No,
you have
it's
such
fine.
a wrong opinion.
No.
I kind of have to agree with him just a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
I wasn't like, she was cool, but at the end of the day, I wasn't focused on what she was having to really say. I was more so of like interest, like the other quests and stuff like that into it. Like, it's kind of hard for me to explain, but I was more in. I remember the little baby character Moozy.
Moozy!
Yeah, I remember him more than I do her.
Well, it's a ridiculous
Moozy.
quest. It's a little.
Moozy
lost
is the
baby.
sole reason we have a quest to escort a grandmother up a bridge. Fuck Moozy.
Oh my goodness.
No, what I really liked about Jael was that she's the leader of this tribe of Highmountain Tauren that are very connected to the waters. And when you look at the history of shamanism in the Warcraft universe, water is always tied to healing. So they'd have this more serene nature to them. I imagine they'd be a bit less war-oriented than the High Mountain or the Skyhawk. And it's just an interesting bit of culture to explore with the Tauren. And I think that really drew me in more than the High Mountain.
they did seem more pacifistic, and I did appreciate that. in the Highmountain setting that not all of them were ready to kick ass. There was just some who just wanted to chill and fish.
Yeah, and I think the pacifism is an aspect of the Tauren that I really miss seeing a lot of the time. Because even in that opening vanilla cinematic we were talking about earlier, you don't start off with the Tauren smashing a dwarf with a hammer, all right? He's sprinkling dust over Mulgore. He's sniffing the flowers. He's having a good time. He's loving life. These are happy bull people until you piss them off.
That is the thing I have noticed about the Tauren is they are, because everyone associates strength and brutality with the orcs, even though the Tauren are much bigger and much stronger than the orcs. They're also more friendly, and they're more willing to collaborate. They've been mainstay members of the Cenarian Circle for so long, and I'm sure the Highmountain are going to follow right along.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The one thing that makes Jael Rivermane a very memorable character is because it was probably her tribe that took the most damage when Dagrul was fucking about. Her village was decimated by the Hammer of Khaz'goroth, and you arrive there to just barely get people out of the village. I think among the 4 tribes, other than the death of Ulan, I think perhaps Under King Dagrul has inflicted the most damage to the Rivermane. At the end of the day, it sounds callous, but the death of the death of Mela's father is the death of one person. This was potentially the death of so many more. Her tribe could have been wiped out, and it was
Warbrave Oros' death.
Oh my God, Oro! We're gonna honor him in a second.
Shook me.
We're gonna honor him too, but
is he not part of the Rivermane?
I don't.
He is Rivermane.
Is he? That's good.
Yes, he is. Yes, he was Rivermane.
Oh, there goes a theory I didn't share yet.
Highmountain or Rivermane.
I was gonna share a theory that I thought the Highmountain were basically the warriors, the Skyhorn were basically the hunter rangers, and the Rivermane were basically the shaman. But if Oro was Rivermane, then I guess that kind of blows out the water. But hey, Ethel, that slow ass Tauren, buddy boy, Wheegil. Have you heard the Tauren silly regarding that?
Sorry, you want to run that by me again? I was reading up on Aura.
Oh, the Tauren have a silly...
Ethel water-wise, yeah?
Yeah, regarding Ethel. They say, I know Ethel. She's actually a very fast walker. She just thinks it's funny to mess with tourists.
Oh, I knew it. I knew she could move faster than that, but she just didn't want me to fucking go get pizza that day.
Is that
I was going through that quest,
yes,
right?
it's a joke line.
Leveling through Highmountain for the very first time on Wheegil. I'm like, alright, I'll finish this quest real quick, run to the corner store, grab a slice. Finish the quest. 15 minutes past closing time. Got home and screamed into my pillow, fucking Ethel. It was a bad night, man.
So, let's see. I'm kind of saving the best for last with the next boy. Let me switch to our... Who can guess who I'm about to bring up? I wonder.
Husbando.
Talking about our main man here. Our boy.
I'm sure you're gonna bring up Lasan.
Yeah, boy!
Can we take a minute to talk about Tarik and the Blood dudes, whatever.
Yeah, I want to get into him next because certainly he's very important. You're right, but I want to talk about Lasan first because even though he's one of my favorites, I think ultimately he's not as impactful as Tarik might have been. What do we know about Lasan Skyhorn and the Skyhorn tribe? You want to lead us off on that, Raton?
Well, he's the leader of the Skyhorn. He's their chieftain, and one of their defining traits is that they ride large eagles in flight. So, yeah, very Lord of the Rings. And honestly, they seem pretty brazen. They fly high. Pretty decent warriors, attack from above, all that.
Did you ever see that cartoon Tailspin?
Yes, I loved that as a kid.
He kind of just reminds me like he would fit in there.
Yeah, he would.
Now, before we jump too heavy into lore, at this point in time, do we have a way to obtain those eagle mounts?
No. I know. That is
Highmountain Druid forms.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's closest, but it's not good enough. Like when I got to Highmountain, I wanted there to be a way to like get some rep and buy like from a vendor a moose mount, like just a normal one, like have like a like a gray one, a brown one, and a black one or something, whatever, different colors. And then with eagles, I would have been fine if it was just the basic eagle, but no, I was very disappointed to find out that that did not exist, and I still to this day want to ask Blizzard why.
Yeah.
I think I know
you guys
why.
Get into talking about lore. I'm gonna start a petition right now.
I think I know why. Look how low poly this eagle model is compared to Lasan. It's not as pretty. It's not as high count. It looks.
The real reason is because we don't have Gandalf to summon them.
there you go.
They're too busy taking the hobbits to Mordor.
But we do have really pretty eagles for the druids, and we have very new bird mounts coming into the game. I think Blizzard. I think they know exactly what they're doing here. You fucking assholes.
No, I think we need eagle mounts. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I agree with you 110%. I would love the fantasy of playing a Skyhorn Tauren on an eagle. That'd be amazing.
Roll a rogue and get on a raven.
Yeah, Dayon, why are you looking at the blood totem there?
Well,
shush. I currently have my splash screen on, but I'm looking for a good picture of our boy Torok, because
Oh shit! All right, edit that out. So the Skyhorn Tauren born.
I'm editing it out.
What sort of impact did the Skyhorn tribe have on you while leveling through that zone compared to the rest of the tribe? Did you find yourself super attached to them, or were they more of like a throwaway? No.
So again, as an alliance player,
yeah, let's hear it.
I really liked Lasan's personality, and he kind of brings to mind a stereotypical Tauren, good-hearted but loud.
Right.
And in charge of the scene he stepped in.
Good-hearted but loud. Perfect.
Look really weird on birds. Like they just look weird on birds.
I do want to know if we can confirm.
I'm going to disagree with you till the day I die, but I'll accept
those
that
poor little bird bones cannot carry a big cow.
Though they're big boy.
I want to know what is the lift strength of a creature about that size, and how big a Tauren is expected to be. Could a bird that size lift a Tauren that size?
Let's just go off the models. I would say no, because honestly, the eagles look about the same size as the Tauren, and in all honesty, scientifically, it probably the eagle needs to be bigger to be able to carry that amount of weight. So if we did get eagle mounts, I'd be like, Blizzard, if you want to appeal to me, please make them a little bit bigger, but I will take the small ones too.
Well, what we know for sure right off the bat is that a 5-ounce bird cannot carry a 1-pound coconut. So if we work those numbers a bit, I think we could come to our hands.
I don't know if you saw that reference image I posted for science.
Ah, yes, an eagle carrying a baby deer.
That looks like a doe.
See, here's the thing. I think the eagle could carry a Tauren, but I don't think it could do it on its back. I think it would have to be a talon sort of.
Just talon grab.
Awesome. You'd have
They're
an
just
eagle
grabbing him by the shoulders.
So
and
why aren't the
drop him on the people?
Why aren't the eagles hunting the Tauren?
Because the Tauren are cute.
And
not cute.
And they're intelligent and probably tamed them so they wouldn't. Let's actually say this. Early in the history, either after the War of the Ancients or before it, just imagine any tribe that would become the Skyhorn or are the Skyhorn, and there are these giant eagles. I'm pretty sure those eagles can come down and swoop down and steal away small children.
Yeah,
probably do.
I was just gonna say I had a very terrible thought of an eagle coming down and taking a little high mountain.
It could have taken
Moozy! I was just thinking that. Oof.
This is the cannon we need.
I mean, one thing to consider. I mean, wolves could have hunted us. Yeah, wolves could have hunted us. We'd still tame them.
I just want to know the first Tauren who saw an eagle and said,
"I'm writing
that."
I know.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, let's switch gears and talk about the final, and I think the more influential. Actually, as that tumbles out of my mouth, I realized how quickly I forgot about Torok, Blood Totem.
Yeah.
What? See, they're odd to me because the Highmountain Society seemed to revere those 3 elements. What was it that the Blood Totem offered? What was their place in society, other than being just hard asses?
I think that was their only place.
Yeah, if I were to draw any parallels, this might be a bit of a stretch, but I would have drawn them between the Blood Totem and the Grim Totem.
Yeah, I think that's what their purpose basically was.
Mm-hmm.
I think they were the warriors of Highmountain.
You're probably
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Them being the warriors and the standard Highmountain tribe just being a sort of a jack of all.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes sense.
With the Blood Totem, I would say that honestly, they probably separated themselves out. Maybe why, some animal that might resemble strength or bronze, wasn't really resembled them or some element or even blood, was probably because they were more aggressive and probably looked down on others that weren't viewed as strong as they are, and it kind of separated them from the other tribes over time.
They're very survival of the fittest.
Yes, they are. And they probably didn't expect the other tribes for not being that way, because they're like, well, if you're trying to keep all the weak ones alive too, and you're all, your strong ones are giving their strength to keep them alive, they're weakening themselves, and you're weakening your group overall, and thus you are just becoming weaker over time, while we, by this philosophy, only become stronger over time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
Personality-wise,
help but-
they are the most accurate to the Canadian moose.
I
will
can't
ruin
help
your day.
but think that the Highmountain Tauren tribes represent different aspects of a mountain, and that the Blood Totem represent the harshness of a mountain.
Oh,
That's actually a very good thought right there.
Would you look at that? I never thought about that. God damn.
Don't ask me to define the other tribes because I only had that idea right now.
Well, how about the
There was no
Drogbar?
forethought.
Oh,
How about the
Well,
Drogbar?
Okay, so-
they are they're like the foundation because they're very earthy. So maybe they also
that's
fit
what-
into that.
yeah, I was about to say maybe that's what Blood Totem kind of came
They're
to.
the
Because if you think
secrets.
if I remember correctly, the way a mountain is created is through the tectonic plate shifting and all of that fun stuff. So
It's funny. I'm a geology student, so I know a lot about that.
Wait, are you sure it's not because Zeus raised his hammer and the earth rose with it?
Wait, did Khaz'goroth not just hammer the ground over and over again?
I mean,
Well, in all
this is
honesty,
blowing my mind.
we don't actually know if Azeroth or even planets with world souls actually have tectonic forces. We don't know if they have tectonic plates and all the boundaries. So it's kind of open.
I think
That's
it'd be
too meta.
a fair
That's too meta.
shot to say that they don't, seeing as you need all these Titan constructs to build up the world for them. Like,
Right, like you have
Well-
these raw elemental forces that are just contained in the planet.
Yeah, well, keep in mind that the mountain ranges, I think in the south, were created by Therazane, who was walling herself off when the elemental lords were fighting with each other.
oh, where they?
So, yeah, it's in the Chronicles. So I definitely think that there is an aspect of mysticism in Azeroth's landscape.
Yeah. But at the same time, with the Titans, when they come to a world, they like to order it. They're like arcane beings, and order is their thing. And if you come to a planet, like if they say they came to a planet like Earth with tectonic forces, but it's not ordered the way they think it should be, what are you going to use to order at least the Earth? You're going to use that hammer, and you're going to do it right there instead of waiting millions of years for that planet to do its little shifting around that takes forever and ever. They want it right now.
However,
Not to mention all those pesky soft skins.
have we seen any examples of Azerothian natural disasters that weren't the direct cause of some
Night Elves?
for?
Even Kazan, it
Very
was
good point.
Deathwing, wasn't it? That set the volcano off.
Yeah, he
Yeah, but
set it
that
off, but he didn't
was-
make it.
I don't think Azeroth has any natural disasters.
Not that we know of.
It's
But
all
there's
been
probably
the
something in
cause of
books or
someone.
something.
Yeah, like we had earthquakes with the Cataclysm. That was a big dark.
But that was
Big
also
dark.
Deathwing.
Also
breaking
Deathwing,
out
because
of-
yeah,
that
he's
was-
the
Deathwing
guardian of
breaking
the
out
earth. So he,
Angkor.
all that stuff relates to him.
Wasn't he also in Deepholm and getting
Yeah.
like the metal plates put on him, and he's like slapping around in the cinematic, and that's the cause of the earthquakes?
Yep.
Yeah. Wait, was he in Deep Home in there?
Yeah, that's where he was
My
sealed.
Cataclysm lore
Yeah.
extends strictly to goblins.
So Highmountain lore, Holm actually banishes him there with the hammer after the War of the Ancients. Because when he got injured, trying to use the Dragon Soul, I believe, on the other flights, and I'm pretty sure he lost the battle and had to go back to his lair in Highmountain to lick his wounds. And the Highmountain Tauren are newly formed, but this is a problem for them. So Holm goes down there and he finds the hammer and some other Titan stuff, and then confronts Deathwing and then uses the hammer to banish him, because without it, they wouldn't have been able to.
I greatly enjoy Holmes' moxie. I just repelled the Legion. You know what? Let's go fuck up a dragon.
I gotta give Blizzard credit where credit is due. I always complain about how they're not giving us super cool, like legendary status lore characters anymore, and then they come out with Huln, fucking Captain Badass over here, just killing everything in sight.
And he's a Tauren.
Getting a blessing from a demigod, like hell yeah, that's a good character.
Seeing the mix between him and then freaking Jared's Shadow Song too, that was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah.
Are you taller?
Now, in regards to the Blood Totem, ultimately their legacy is that they align with the Legion and become the Fell Totem. Torok is killed, Moloch, his son, is killed, and their tribe just become thralls to the Legion.
Aren't they the
Was there any Blood Totem that ended up joining Highmountain?
I don't believe so.
Yes,
Actually,
Oh,
there are. You don't actually see them, but there are Blood Totem that survived not being forced or killed by the Fell Totem, forced to convert, and they are actually in Highmountain now. You'll see them around. They'll say Highmountain or Blood Totem Survivor.
Okay, so I figured there would be some in there somewhere who didn't either get corrupted by the Fell or completely join them. I figured there'd be at least one or two, if not a lot,
A couple, like a handful.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be at least a handful of them, yes.
I did also notice it because I was just making a Tauren and they gave you the customization options to make someone that looked like a Blood Totem. I didn't know if that was just coincidence or not.
Right on. Learn something new every day.
Yeah, I have to actually tell a lot of people, because in channels and stuff, people ask me, well, what about Blood Totem? Can we not play them because they're all became Fell Totem? I have to tell them, no, they didn't become all Fell Totem, actually. You can play a Survivor.
I like that. Good job.
I didn't know I wanted Tauren Warlocks until the Fell Totem were.
I'm one of those advocates for all races should get warlocks because I like the aesthetic. Aesthetically,
I'm one of the advocates of no class race restrictions. Just let everyone be everything.
Oh, I don't like
They
that.
spent enough time with each other that someone's bound to pick it up.
I like the
idea.
I actually like the idea of Tauren Rogues. As silly as it sounds, I think it'd be cool.
Well, imagine how much you would hurt if a freaking Tauren or Highmountain rogue kicked you with one of their hooves.
Oh my god.
Well, I really like the idea of, let's say we have a light that is, or not a light, a race that is just cut off from the light, right? Or maybe a race that can't properly embrace the arcane without severely damaging themselves. I think that adds a lot of flavor to the world.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree. Adding boundaries is nice. And to be honest, Tauren are one of those races that cannot become mages because the arcane actually makes them physically sick. It makes them sick to their stomachs. To be around it a whole lot is
really
all four of them.
And some of them can get
another sensitive to Fell because they can smell it on Blood Elves and orcs and stuff.
They're sensitive to Fell as well, and to be honest, Fell is the ultimate enemy of life. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
Which makes it kind of surprising that the Blood Totem even became Fell Totem.
I think the reason behind that was their xenophobia. I mean, they weren't happy when, an outsider is supposed to wield the hammer. They viewed outsiders even weaker than the other High Mountain tribes. And I think that ticked them off so much that it pushed them over that edge to where they were willing to align with the Legion over it.
Oh wow. So their
Dude, all
traditions
this
were.
talk.
Oof.
No, go on down.
I think it's funny how your defense of your traditions can lead you to do something that would have completely gone against your other traditions. It's insane to me. But it makes, I mean, I can see it happen. That's the thing. It's a good story.
I mean, yeah, because didn't we see the High Elves back in the day heavily quarreling with the trolls, and currently they're allied with them.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Oh,
Don't like Blood Elves, but I like the idea.
Have we have anything else to say about the Blood Totem tribe?
Nah.
I actually really enjoyed having their story in the game as a sort of throwback to the classic orc story.
Yeah, that's
Blizzard
true.
did a real good job there, sort of stroking our ego a little bit. Fuck.
Because the guy has, what must we give in return? Everything.
Yeah.
And the response was,
great.
"Oh, that sounds reasonable."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm sure there's nothing sinister about that.
Can I just say that, like, assault on their village was actually pretty nice? I enjoyed that.
Absolutely.
That was a pretty good skirmish battle.
That's a fun that's actually one of my favorite invasion world quests is the one where, and the one with the Drawbar fucking up Highmountain too. But
Yeah.
so, any last thoughts on the Blood Totem tribe?
I'm just saying, I like that. It was kind of, I think we mentioned this with earlier factions, the Maghar, where you're like, you're not hostile with them when you run into them, but they're not friendly either, and it kind of gives you this uneasy feeling just being in there when you're first interacting with them.
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Which is interesting. I liked it.
Yeah, that
Wait a
was
minute,
actually.
These aren't green names.
I felt the tension. It was great.
Yep.
Now, let's move on. And before
Alright.
we get to I think the most influential and the most important character in the Blood and in the High Mountain roster, take a second to honor. Oops, that's not the one I want. Let's take a second to honor our boy, Warbrave Oro.
Warbrave Aura. That is a man right there.
Look
That
at
is a
him.
man that every man should aspire to be like. Every Tauren should look up to that fella as just a pillar of. I'm not doing a speech. Fuck that. He's a good guy. Like him a lot.
Well, we're not going to do a speech, but let's do a really brief moment of silence for our boy, Warbrave Oro.
Yo, boy.
Bow your heads. Say a prayer. Hey. Good.
All right.
All right. Last but not least, and actually my favorite character in the High Mountain tribe. Who wants to guess? Who wants
Better
to
not
guess?
be Moosey. I
Nah,
swear to
nah, nah,
God.
nah. Who wants to? Who? Come on. Real guesses. Who?
It's Ebonhorn.
Eben fucking Horn.
He doesn't count. He's a dragon.
Nah, nah,
he's
nah.
a drag.
He is still
He's
very.
not a real Tauren.
That's not about whether or not he's a Tauren. It's about how ingrained he is with the High Mountain tribe and the fact that he might as well be, since only three people in the lore know. Mela, the champion, and Bane. We'll get into that. Eben Horn.
Chromia's not a gnome. Alexstrasza is not an elf.
Also, how many dragons take the form of Tauren?
Just
At least
that one.
Exactly. Thank
Now
you.
that's
Very
the
nice
deal.
stuff.
Hold on. It's not about whether or not he's a Tauren. He is deeply connected to the High Mountain story. That's why he's important.
I think
And-
he's like the only dragon shaman in lore.
Maybe he is.
Which makes sense because he's a black dragon, and black dragons are connected to the earth.
Mhm.
And who deals with earth? Shaman.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you guys
He was
want to?
supposed to be, what's his name? Rathian, until they realized, oh wait, he's supposed to have backstory. But Rathian's only like 3 years old.
That's the thing. I think it's obvious because Rathian gets hard for Anduin that he's going to be working with the Alliance. But Ebonhorn, through the new ties of the High Mountain tribe, is going to be a member of the Horde by default.
We
And
have
I'm
our
gonna-
own dragon.
And I'm going to tell you, when it comes down to our dragon on dragon comparison, I think we got the better end of the deal. I'm very sorry, Blue Boy, but
I'm jealous.
I mean,
of the Alliance.
I support my king and his love interest.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm jealous of the Alliance only in the sense that they're bringing in the Aladdin aesthetic to WoW that I've been craving for a long time with Rathian.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it's true. The Arabian Nights
So-
theme is so
yeah,
dope.
it's so good.
I wonder why. I wonder where it came from. But
He's probably
Back,
hiding
back on
Voldemort
Ebonhorn,
behind his
I really thought he was a very valuable character to the Highmountain story. It really broke up the monotony of just Tauren after Tauren after Drogbar after Tauren.
it was a good reveal. Because, I mean,
was a-
It caught many people, including myself, off guard.
Yeah, I
Did
had
not
no
see that
idea.
coming.
because
You know how you hear about people who get surprised in WoW and other stuff, and they like audibly gasp and are just like, "Whoa!"
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Ebonhorn is the only time I've ever done that in this game.
Really?
yeah.
I have
Yes.
people yelling at me to do High Mountain as fast as I can because of that moment.
So the reveal
Hmm.
that Spirit Walker Ebonhorn is actually a black dragon is probably one of the most defining moments of the High Mountain storyline, and his inclusion into the Horde is going to mean something. I know it, but what that form takes is going to be very interesting to say the least. And
Well,
I think there's something so much cooler about the fact that Ebonhorn is a mature dragon. I remember
Yes.
in in Warlords of Draenor.
You mean the Pandaria?
Well, no. I know that Rathian makes a very brief cameo somewhere in Warlords of Draenor where he flies off, but he's in his whelp
Spires of a
form.
Rock.
Something like that. He's in his whelp form. And I gotta say, it is goddamn lame that he is still in his whelp form. I know
It
he has
makes
to
me giggle.
I know he has to grow. I know he's not even an adolescent dragon yet. But oh my god, nothing kills his appeal for me faster than realizing he is still this little tiny baby shit dragon. Now you have
In
Rathian.
Anduin's room, it's a little mini whelp.
See, that's the reason why I like Rathian so much is because
She's your little
he's-
pocket dragon.
yeah, he's a little pocket dragon, but he likes to pretend like he's this big bad toughy, and then all of a sudden he turns into dragon form, and I just imagine people around him are just kind of like, oh, look how cute he is.
Now,
I can't take you seriously.
my
Dayon,
favorite.
what I'm
Rathian's
explaining with
best
Rathian
moment.
right now
Huh?
is the exact reason I've been saying that I cannot stand Khadgar. Nobody agrees with me, but I will take this to the fucking grave. You cannot be an archmage without a giant ass beard.
Fair
I like
point.
Khadgar.
Nah, Khadgar sucks. Anyway,
Well, you can't. He doesn't have a beard anymore because we kept farming all his whiskers.
My favorite thing about Ebonhorn, though, is his appearance in that dungeon. What's that one called?
Oh crud! I know the one you're talking about.
What's the name of that?
Neltharian's Lair.
Yes, Neltharian's Lair.
No,
Yeah.
I won't be doing that.
Exactly.
I'm
Though
telling you, that's
he
why.
plays the straight man to the over enthusiastic and overly eager. What's his name? Who cares? I don't like him. He's okay. He's all right, but he's not as cool
Wait,
as
who
Ebonhorn.
are you talking about?
That was
that-
quite a roller coaster.
The Drogbar, who's like, quickly, let's go.
Oh,
Let's go down.
Navarog?
Never. Yeah, he's like, quickly, let's get in the barrels, and he's just like, no, I won't be doing that.
I'll go this way.
A couple of my friends picked that up as a bit of a meme where we would just like, hey man, do you want to play this game? I'd be like, no, I won't be doing that. And it's like, hey man, come help me with these dailies. No, I won't be doing that. So, talk about memes. Ebonhorn birthed a very brief meme in our guild for a little while. The no, I won't be doing that meme. And like, you look at it, was like there was a joke. It was like you look at your plus 15 mythic keystone. It's got like a bad combination, and you're just like, no, I won't be doing that.
Yeah, I've
That
picked out
that
us
speaks
once
to me
or twice.
on a spiritual level.
So there's a lot of great characters in the Highmountain Tauren, from Mela as the leader to the other leaders of the tribe, Jael Rivermane, and Lasan Skyhorn, and then Spirit Walker Ebonhorn is my favorite because this is all the potential of the growth of the Highmountain tribe. I think it's going to be either in the development of Mela as a leader and what it means that the Horde will have a dragon on it to count in its ranks. And on that note, let's look at what the Tauren are going to be like as members of as just something you can play as. Ironically enough, didn't they get like the least number of available classes? 5,
It seemed less, yeah.
5.
Not
Light Force. Okay.
surprising because
very happy.
Tauren
with it.
usually have limited number
Yeah.
class options anyway.
So they're getting
Aside
Druid.
from Monk, they're all very thematic.
They're getting They're getting druid, hunter, monk, shaman, and warrior. For some reason, I thought they didn't have shaman. I'm fucking blind. But
Nah,
yeah,
Rivermain.
yeah, exactly. I was about to be up in arms, but nah. I'm glad that it's right here where it's supposed to be. So they all
I'm
make sense.
disappointed that they don't get paladins. I know I've said this before, but like they
Yeah.
have the fields of Anshe, and they seem to be more in Anshe's camp. So why wouldn't they have paladins?
I think it's just because they never really got further than that, to be honest. Like, if you go into the Sunwalker lore, you know, I believe I read somewhere that there actually was a sacred order of warriors that were Sunwalkers before, but they kind of died out. And then when Apane and Tahoe, Sagewind, you know, were talking about all the stuff they'd seen in Northrend, and through their discussions brought about bringing Sunwalkers out and, you know, using Anshe's power, you know, wielding Anshe's power for, you know,
I think it's
they did that, but I don't think Highmountain did. They had already lost Anshe before the War of the Ancients and just never got it back.
I'll disagree. I don't think they ever lost Anshe. I think they just don't have need to overcompensate. See, the Tauren were taught how to become druids. They rediscovered the druidic roots through the Night Elves, who are very biased towards the moon, and so Anshe was completely neglected. So here they come, realizing, oh man, we're all about balance, and we never were respecting the balance of the light, of the moon with the sun. So we need to even that back out, because the Tauren. I've noticed that some Highmountain NPCs will say, "Let the sun and moon guide you." So I think they've always had that balance, and therefore they've never really lent towards the moon, and then had to overcompensate that with going deeper into being Sunwalkers. But as we said before the stream when we were discussing this, I think it's very important that there needs to be some vein where the Tauren feel distinct from the High Mountain feel distinct from the Tauren.
Yeah.
And I feel that the Sunwalkers are going to be the greatest way to say that there are some domains that are unique to the Kalimdor Tauren. The High Mountain Tauren won't quite get there, and maybe they'll get them later. You know, maybe they just had to get the 5 races because they couldn't think of a better one for the Lightforged Draenei. I personally think the decision to make them a monk is stupid, but
I was surprised by that myself.
I don't know why. I don't know why, but Druid makes sense, and I bet you they're joining the Cenarian Circle. Hunter makes sense. That's the Skyhorn boys. Warrior makes sense. That's probably going to be your everybody. Horo was Rivermain, but obviously the Shamans are going to be their Rivermain boys.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much all of the standard non-magic classes make sense, except for rogues because of hooves.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's look at their racial traits. So they're getting Bull Rush. They charge forward and knock an enemy down. It's kind of a directional war stomp. Kind of cool.
Yeah, actually.
It's fun.
Fun fact, everyone. I'm currently on my High Mountain Druid, and if I were to be in PvP, it gives me a very nice combo of you do your Bull Rush, you run on it, you knock him down, and then you just leap back. I think it's a real nice ability that sort of spices up the part of the game that isn't just story. Good on you, Blizz.
What do you like better, the aerial effect of War Stomp or the directional Bull Rush?
I like Bull Rush,
War
honestly.
Stomp because
Bull Rush is fun.
I say War Stomp because with Bull Rush you can find yourself running off the cliff.
You can.
see.
You very much.
Oh my god, I hope that becomes like something they reference. High Mountain numbers are plummeting because they just aren't looking before they leap. Now Mountaineer is going to grant them versatility. So I guess it depends on which of these classes really depend on versatility, if any. Can anyone tell me? I haven't actually cared about stats in a long time.
Is still a good tank stat?
I think it is. So they got
I feel
3
like the High Mountain Tauren make great tanks.
They all but one of their classes has a tank spec. Druid, monk. Oh, I'm sorry, shaman. I thought for some reason that was something else. They have 3 tank classes.
Yeah, shaman and hunters can't be tanks, so.
Yet.
Not with that attitude.
Oh, this racial trait reminds me of something we forgot. There are 2 lesser known High Mountain tribes, and that is the Ironhorn, very heavily involved with the blacksmithing chain, which is great. I think their relation. I think the story of the professions was great, and of course, the prep hooves.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't there a number of the Ironhorn, if not all of them, I didn't spend a lot of time up there, who did not receive the Blessing of Ekro?
I don't
And
know.
just had
I
standard.
feel that those were just Horde Tauren hanging out with the Ironhorns.
Okay.
I'm willing to say that's probably the
Honestly,
case.
I don't remember seeing a whole lot of Highmountain with the antlers up there on the mountain. I remember just seeing Kalimdor Tauren, and it was kind of odd.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now that you say it, I have no idea.
My guild spent like, I don't know, a month or two there.
I only have one
nice.
blacksmithing character,
Yeah.
so I have no idea.
Let's see.
Yeah, it's been a while, so I don't remember seeing any Kalimdor or any Highmountain. If there were, it was like one or two, and the rest were all Kalimdor Tauren with regular horns.
Kalimdor.
Oh, those Kalimdor.
Now their other one is Rugged Tenacity, which reduces damage from incoming attacks. So wow, hold on, they get increased versatility and some damage reduction. These guys are gonna be very hardy tanks. Holy shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now
I think
it
that really plays into the theme of Holm just being a total badass all the time. Like, you're
I'm
not going to
begin-
bring me down. Get
I'm
out of here.
I'm beginning to notice a trend where an aspect of where their traits are very similar to their base counterpart, but in a different vein. Tauren have a little bit more HP. These guys just get slightly reduced attack, so you kind of have to ask yourself, how is that really different at the end of the day? It's shaved off. You either, with the extra HP, you can take a few more hits. With the reduced damage, you can take a few more hits. At the end of the day, it's the same result.
Yeah, I think overall I prefer the reduced damage just because with more HP, if you get a bunch of super duper fast but low damage dealing attacks, you're still going to take the full blunt of that. But let's say you have a bunch of super quick attacks which deal a total of 300 damage, or one just big swipe that does 300 damage. With the reduced damage intake, that those quick attacks aren't going to be nearly as effective.
I agree, and I also feel that health kind of is an inorganic number. It doesn't matter. You get stamina from everything.
Plus, it's just more
damage
stuff to heal
reduction.
back once you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but damage reduction from not to say all attacks or just physical attacks.
It just says from incoming attacks, but I guess it also depends on
So I wonder if that
distinction.
also applies to magical attacks.
Let's
So
take a look.
flat damage reduction against every single attack that you take is such an advantage.
Yeah, I'm looking at it in the in-game spellbook right now, and it doesn't say if it's magical or physical.
I wonder if their game PD article will make a distinction. Sometimes they will. Reduces damage taken by Rugged Tenacity. Wow.
And
Head.
what's the percentage? 1%?
I think maybe. Let's see.
I imagine it's something low.
Reduces damage taken by stamina times 0.0003 times 60. School physical. Let's see what their comments say. Does
Oh wait,
not.
it's scaling off of your stamina?
Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah, looks like it
Ooh.
might. Rugged
Oh,
Tenacity
wow.
does
That's
not
interesting.
currently reduce the damage per tick of stack of stagger.
Swag.
Now scales 1.8% as of the 29th of January. This makes it a really nice ratio that will only get stronger with better gear. It seems really nice for bears. It doesn't really seem to be a distinction between. It seems to be all attacks, I'd say.
Huh.
That seems broken to me.
It's going to be really broken for PvE, which means it'll never get changed. Well, maybe it will get changed.
I mean, I don't know about broken, but it definitely seems like the clear winner of the two, without a doubt.
Which made me jealous playing a Kalimdor Tauren versus a Highmountain. I was jealous of their racials.
It's okay, you guys have the cooler racial, man. You're good.
So, now that the Highmountain Tauren are on the Horde, what do you think that means for the Horde? What do you think that means for the Highmountain? Do you think they're
More
gonna...
cowbell.
More cowbell, perfect.
I think... Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to twist your words there, Dayon. I'm
Yeah.
going to start off with what it means for the Alliance.
Oh.
I think it means that the Horde is going to be a big, beefy wall, and the Alliance are really going to have to step up their dexterity game if they want to chance.
Well, look at this golden refrigerator man here. I think they're gonna be fine.
Wait, what?
Well, I mean, the Light Forge definitely adds I mean, not the Life Forge. You distracted me for a minute. The Highmountain Tauren definitely adds another wall of enemies to get through. Speaking of sturdiness,
Also dragon.
and why we have Raton.
Like low-key dragon.
We also have Caligos because he is Jaina's boyfriend.
Former aspect. Yeah, that's fair enough. Fair enough. She's frequent shopper on baddragon.com.
She better hope that their relationship doesn't end bad. Otherwise, we got another dragon.
Calic is the worst.
She doesn't keep boyfriends for very long, so.
No, she's like the Taylor Swift of Azeroth.
Oh.
I'm glad someone laughed. I thought that was clever.
What says Calic is worst dragon ever? I'll agree with that.
Yeah. All right.
I can't think of any dragon I like less than Calic.
See, well, here's the thing, Dayon.
Yeah.
With more Tauren on the Horde, I think it's greatly reducing the chance of another Garrosh incident.
I was just about to say, I agree. I think it brings more. I don't want to say pacifism because I feel that that's the wrong word, but it definitely.
How about stability?
Yeah, balance between aggression and maybe some more
between the brains
stability.
They want to think more before we act, kind of stuff. Maybe view other lines of dealing with issues than say just charging in. That maybe diplomacy is an avenue that can be taken.
Yeah, and they're gonna have a very interesting voice in the Horde's acquisition of resources, because we know they haven't been terribly kind to the land in the past.
Yeah, which is actually why my Tauren won't be on the Horde, is because of that.
Especially with Wheegil in the Horde, you guys are gonna have a hell of a time.
Well, I think we should close off our discussion with the Highmountain Tauren by directing ourselves to the Watch Together link and putting this sucker in full screen and taking a look at the scenario that brings them in. What do you guys think? Watch this until we get absolutely bored, but I think there's some very interesting things in this scenario that I think are worth pointing out. So, go ahead.
Speaking of getting absolutely bored, I think of the 4 races, theirs was the most boring quest line.
Wasn't my favorite.
Really?
I loved it.
I don't think it was engaging at all.
Well, you guys.
It was also the longest.
It was
long.
Anywho.
I think for time purposes, I don't know, because we're already over. Like, we just spent the past hour talking about Highmountain, so.
We'll skim. We'll skim. Because there's a couple. Well, you know what? Actually, is it safe to assume that we've all seen it up before? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, then I'll just go ahead
and just have it playing in the background through this stuff and post.
Yeah. That's a good point, too. So I'll have it. It'll probably take about 15 minutes to get through. So here's the thing. Bane is a badass in this scene. He is happy to be fighting. Oh my god, is he happy to be fighting. And it's such a joy to see him. He's as happy as Lorthamar was when he finally got a chance to pull his sword out and just fuck shit up. But I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that Ebonhorn is struck by old god stuff because, and they mention this in the scenario, the old god, the darkness. They were like, your kind always bend to the whispers. So, as happy as I am about Ebonhorn being on the Horde, we might have to deal with the fact that.
Well,
go ahead.
Let's clarify real quick. I believe he said more along the lines of, your kind is so easily bent to the shadow, or something along those lines. So
yeah,
not so much that they're the only option, but that they're the path of least resistance.
Maybe you're right. But I think Rathian and Ebonhorn potentially could represent the Void Lords in, so to speak. N'Zoth's in.
Very possible. Very possible.
Mm-hmm. But does anyone else feel that the old guys are starting to get really cartoony? Because I felt that a bit in here.
What do you mean cartoon?
I'm starting to feel like they're losing a bit of their intrigue as, you know, this unfeeling, unreasonable, implacable force of just eldritch cosmic a natural. I'm starting to feel a little. They're feeling like really twirly mustachy villains at this point because of the way they deliver some of their lines. It's starting to get a little ridiculous. The writing isn't as good as it once was. The whispers.
I think they need to start serving what they're saying.
I like it when they're speaking Old God and you don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
You can't comprehend their language.
That. And then they just say these ham-fisted lines because we're not playing the video. It's going to be hard to recall, but you just get the sense that.
Well, they've been doing it throughout the entire expansion with Il'gynoth in the Emerald Dream, Emerald Nightmare, and with I think her name is Xal'atath, the dagger.
Mm-hmm.
I love that dagger.
Yeah.
They're like vague posting on Tumblr, and you're like, make your point or move on. I mean, really, just do something.
I mean, not to get too heavy into it, that's kind of the point of the old gods, essentially, is to be vague posting.
Huh. The video started playing.
It's the old gods saying, are you talking about me?
Watch my shit. Oh, Ul'gynoth has this line. He's like, "Oh, you thought the Legion was bad? Well, we're way worse." It's like, dude, show don't tell. Come on.
Well, see, my favorite parts, because my favorite one was the mention of the boy king.
Yeah.
I personally am not in the same boat as Dayon. I really like where the old gods have gone. I like that we have one character in the form of N'Zoth who has this really strong presence, but we haven't actually encountered them. I don't think we've even been directly contacted by N'Zoth, only his servant.
So it's said in lore that he's actually the weakest of the old gods, which is kind of interesting, but he's also the most hidden of all the old gods.
That would only lead me to believe that he's a master strategist, because the old gods are in it for the long
strength.
Mm-hmm.
He's the smart one.
Yasharj was the strongest. He's dead.
He got fucked.
Yep.
Anyway,
I think that's a very good note to look at, though, is that with these villains who are highly based off insanity, just toying with people's minds, the one that had the most strength to them just couldn't muster up what it takes to be an old god. He got fucked up.
Something I thought was interesting is that Holn Highmountain is a character we never personally met. We don't interact with him. He is dead as dirt. But every time we interact with him, whatever. Every time we get to know about some history of the Highmountain tribe, we see it through Holn's eyes. And there's a part in the Unlock quest where you play as Holn, establishing these seals in the Highmountain land to keep the darkness at bay. So when you think about all the things that you've done, you fought as Holn, you have seen, and through Holn, repelled the Burning Legion, banished Deathwing to Deepholm, created magical seals to keep the darkness at bay. Holn's character has developed a great deal, and we've never seen him in our present time. We've only seen him as this historical figure. It's crazy.
He existed 10,000 years ago, so that's understandable.
It's hard to develop a 10,000-year-old character like that by continuously showing bits and pieces of him. I think it's fucking not. I think it's great. I love what they do with Holn, and I wish, like Wheegil mentioned earlier, we don't have any heroic figures like this anymore. No figures of legend, and now we do with Holn. It's always so much fun.
Yeah, I want to see more Broxigars, more Holns, more characters that we don't actually interact with, but have a really lasting impact on the world.
Yeah.
Wasn't Trag Highmountain an actual Highmountain?
I don't know where it is.
Because I could have sworn Trag talked about Holn a long time ago.
Oh no, he didn't talk about Holn at all. I honestly kind of feel like they're two different tribes of Highmountain, like that they're not related at all. And Trag's tribe just happened. I believe one of the wiki sources says they're a tribe in Eastern Kingdoms, which makes no sense. And in the comic, it looks a lot like Stone Talon to me, which honestly to me would make sense. But yeah, I think those Highmountain are not the same as these Highmountain, but that's just my interpretation of it at the moment.
I wouldn't imagine so, because there is an NPC at the Burning Crusade Black Portal, which is named Highmountain. So it would make sense for me for a group of Highmountains to have strayed off from the tribe way before all this happened and not received the blessing.
It could have been.
Oh, yeah.
Another good thing about this scenario is we learn a little bit more about Spirit Walkers, which are kind of the RPG class of Tauren that have always kind of been around in lore, but we never really learned a whole lot about them. And their capability to peer in the memories of the dead is pretty impressive. That's as a canon factoid, that's pretty dope.
Yeah, I'll never have an issue with Spirit Walkers. They're awesome. More of that.
Pretty much.
All right, cool.
So
do we have much more to cover on these Tauren?
No, I think for the Highmountain Tauren, we've about covered it all. What do you think, Raton? Any closing thoughts on our boys, the Highmountain Tauren?
Were we gonna talk about, whether or not people were gonna leave the regular Tauren to go play Highmountain or anything? Did we talk about that?
Oh, not yet, but let's go ahead. Do you guys think that the Highmountain appeal is so great that no one's going to want to play the Kalimdor Tauren again?
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah.
Almost directly after making my Highmountain, I had this really strong urge to make a Kalimdor Tauren. I didn't want to delete my Highmountain.
Nice.
But they're very similar. But a lot of people, I think, don't recognize the more subtle aesthetic differences, whereas, say, the Highmountain have a more moose-like snout when they're in their standard form, and the Kalimdor Taurens are more narrow, similar to that of a bull. They've got very different characteristics. I think they look like relatives, but they don't look like brother and sister.
They look the same to me, but with moose antlers. And that's not, a good enough reason to roll one, especially as the paladin reason.
I feel the same with you on that point, honestly.
Okay.
I think you're channeling your inner Canadian and projecting.
All right, I'll say this. To be honest, I think currently it's just that they're new and flashy. People will probably stick with them if they, if the lore appeals to them, or they get really used to their characters and such. But otherwise, I think it'll probably even out and might even go back to regular Tauren being the more played. But it's honestly, I think it's really up in the air. It's something I'm going to be paying attention to.
Well, there are add-ons
I
out
wouldn't
there.
mind seeing more of them, but yeah, I think people just would more likely stick to their old Tauren if that's what they've been playing before.
Well, the thread that we had,
people are invested in them.
the thread that we looked at suggests that very few people are actually going to main fewer than we might have thought are going to actually main an allied race. There are add-ons that let you take population snapshots of, people who are online, and Raton was telling me that he found that it's getting pretty even. At first, the Highmountain were overtaking, but now it's evening out. That's very interesting to consider.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll see a significant drop-off near the beginning of Battle for Azeroth as everyone gets their mains right. And then I think it'll pick up again near mid to late when people are like, wait a minute. Canada's pretty alright.
Well, stick a fork in that steak, because it is
She's done.
done. Highmountain Tauren are one I can't. And there you have it, our discussion of the Highmountain Tauren. I want to take another moment to thank Raton for taking the time to spend the evening with us. And coming up next will be the Void Elves. We'll reassemble part of the cast to re-record that episode. All we need to do is get a little bit more footage, and we're putting it together real soon. So this has been episode 5 of the Boncast, part 2. Parts 3 and 4 coming before you know it. Make sure you're kept abreast of when we upload. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell button. You'll be notified whenever we upload a new video. Till then, feel free to linger by the flames. We'll have to leave this bonfire up a little while longer. And I've been Dayon, your host of the Boncast. Thank you for listening. Have a great night.